I think that I've seen some content surrounding like Mythic rating content, and with the new tier coming out, I think that there's probably a lot of people who are interested in getting into it, but they just like don't know where to start, you know? So I recently started Mythic rating. So just full disclaimer, I am not an expert. There are people way more experienced than me. But I think that getting into this tier, I feel like I have some perspective from both a recruiter, a raid leader, as well as somebody who's joined other guilds on my alts and stuff like that and tried to raid with them. So I kind of know what it looks like to try to find a guild as well as trying to recruit for my own guild. As you can see right here, this is the Raider IO for one of my characters. I'm 6 out of 8 Mythic. It looks like I have enough time in the tier to get cutting edge. Well, my guild's progressing there, and I think we have a pretty good shot of it. Hopefully, don't jinx it. But I'm like 3,300 IO, so I'm like relatively decent. I'm not like crazy or anything, but I think that it's also like kind of a perspective that people need for something like this, because I think there's like a lot of people who are maybe similar to me, maybe slightly less experienced, who want to get into Mythic rating, but they like don't know where to start. And I'm gonna tell you, this is how I started it, and this is how you can start too. So basically, my first advice for people is that you kind of want to get your foot in the door early. So our guild started out as a Cataclysm 10-man heroic guild. Well, they didn't start there. They started in like Classic and stuff like that. But that's pretty much when I started taking over as raid leader. And what ended up happening is we lost a few players, and we decided rather than recruiting for Kata, we wanted to come over and give retail a shot. We were excited for like the new content, for the liberation of Undermine, and just wanted to see it out. So we ended up swapping to the game earlier than Liberation of Undermine. Actually, we started around in like February. We started recruiting. Because we were a 10-man Kata guild, so we had to recruit around 8, maybe 10 people. We had around like 12 players, and we were just going through these discords and stuff like that, and we were looking for people to join, and we ended up recruiting just a bunch of people to join our guild. So if you're a recruiter and you're looking to get your guild in the Mythic rating, that would be my advice to you, is just go to these discords, start doing it now. The new tier is coming out in probably like a month or two, and you can start now building up your roster and trying to get that like little resume going, so that way you can hit the ground running in the new season. You know, this is future Casey coming in here. When you are recruiting as well, don't just tell them, hey, we're going to start next tier. Start raiding now. Like, what's the point of not just progressing a few bosses? Get that AOTC for your guild if you're making a new guild, or like at least like join in and do some prog with the guild that you are looking to join. Just because like if you just start at the start of next season, you're not giving yourself time to like build up those relationships with players that are very important for the guild to like succeed, or for you to succeed in a group. You want to get your foot in the door early, get to know those people, and actually practice raiding, so that you can have those experiences and you can actually like be ready to hit that ground running like we were talking about. So what you're watching in the background right here is us progressing Rashanan, and like we were hyping this up as like the final boss. Like when we beat Rashanan, that's where we were going to stop, because we didn't want to progress Brute Twister at this time of the season, and we had a cool moment like this. Okay, so we fucking kill boss here. You guys are the goats. We beat the game. We beat the game.
First try?
So like imagine a moment like this to bring us into the next tier versus like a moment like, hey guys, we're going to be doing this thing next tier. You aren't really sure if this guild's actually active or not. Maybe you hang around in the Discord. Maybe like a couple people run Mythic Plus every now and then. Versus like having 20 people in the raid where you get to progress like an actual boss with them. And like sure, some of them had already killed it. I'm pretty sure I had already killed it too. But like this was cool. This was a cool experience for us to like get us started for the next year. If you start like the day that the season starts, if you start worrying about recruiting, or you start worrying about finding a guild, what's going to end up happening is you'll fall behind a little bit, right? Guilds are going to start progressing, and they'll probably progress a little bit faster than Pugs. Not all of them, but like a lot of them probably will. And you want to get that experience under your belt, because people start to judge you based off of your experience pretty quickly. I know the meme comes up where people are like, you need AOTC week 1 to join this boss. And it's like, okay, well, like if I have AOTC, why would I need to kill that boss? I think that those people are extreme, and like that level of like judgment probably isn't fair. But like there is some sense to it where it's like, oh, this guy, he's killed like the first 3. Maybe he can come on our 4th boss progression or something. You know, that's definitely how I look at people when I'm recruiting. I don't really necessarily want people who are like crazy above us, but I want people like around our same skill level, because those are the people you want to play with. You don't want to shoot for the stars. You want to find people who are at your skill level, who are interested in progressing the game with you, so that way you can like learn with them. You don't want to be like getting caught up, or you don't want to be like way ahead. You want to be at their skill level. So the best place that I would recommend to find a guild is like through Discords, through things like Reddit, through things like WoW forums. The last two are probably a little bit more sketchy, but like for example, this is a Discord that I use, where I would kind of like post my guild, and like I would post if I wanted to join guilds. So I think that there's a looking for guild right here, so you would find the one that fits you. These channels are kind of confusing, but you'll kind of sort it out. So I'm a Mythic or aspiring cutting edge raider. I'm aspiring for cutting edge. I would post in here. I'm like, here's my experience. All these people are looking for guilds, and basically, people will contact you through here. I know that a lot of people are posting, so some advice for this is that like tanks are oftentimes a very contested role. You only get 2 of them in the raid, and a lot of them are kind of like in the guild already. A lot of guilds like officers and stuff like that are the tanks, because what ends up happening is nobody wants to tank, and it's like one of the most important roles in the raid. You need a good tank. So yeah, it's kind of hard to find a spot as a tank because so many people want to do it, and there's so few roles for it in the raid. So DPS definitely very valued. It does seem like there's kind of a lot more melee, so I think that like playing a range class, that might not be true for every guild, but that's what we experienced. Healers also is a little bit more contested. You only get 4 of them in a raid, so if you want to heal, again, a similar thing too. A lot of officers will heal, so sometimes you can find a spot as a healer, but generally DPS are going to be a little bit better. And then if you could play classes that are kind of like a little bit less common, so like if you're a warrior, for example, it might be kind of hard to find a guild, but like if you're a rogue, it might be a little bit easier because people may want a rogue. Things like warlocks, I don't see a lot of. Shadow priest. It also depends on what's good that tier, you know, so. Now, this isn't any, like, sort of nuclear advice, but also, like, be very straightforward in what you're looking for. So, when I recruit people for our guild, like I said, I don't want people way above us, and I don't want people, like, way below us. I also mentioned to people when I recruit them, like, this isn't a joke, I tell them that we're bad. Because I don't want people who are super sweaty joining our guild and basically ruining our vibes. So literally, I will message people like straight up. I'm like, hey, just so you know, we're not good. We're not bad. We're like decent players. We maybe could be better. That's what we're looking to do. We're looking to improve and like have fun while we do it. We're looking for people who are interested in joining our community. We want like good vibes. We want people who are like actually going to like play with us and have fun in Mythic Plus. And if that's not you, if you're like the type of person who's like, I just am here to raid, might not be the community for you. Just straight up, you can say no to people, right? You can test out these guilds too. If you're like an individual and you're looking for guilds, you could definitely go in and you can just like feel out the vibes. If it's not for you, then just go to a different guild. In the same sense, if I'm like an individual player, I want to be like pretty upfront about what I want from a guild that I'm joining. Oh, also, I just remembered, here is another thing that I think would be like absolutely crazy, at least for us. If you're looking to join a guild and you're looking to get into Mythic raiding, but maybe you're kind of nervous. You're like, I don't know what to expect from this. What if it's really sweaty? What if people are like really mean to me? What if I like mess up or something like that? I think a very like underappreciated role in raids, and as a raid leader and as an officer in this guild, I have noticed is bench players. I'm not even joking when I say that if somebody reached out to me and they said, hey, I've never really Mythic raided, but I'm like interested in it. I wanna see what it's like. I want to kind of like spectate some bosses with you guys. I would love to be a bench player for you guys. Like if I could just be on the bench and like watch how you guys do things and maybe hop in for a couple of fights if somebody needs to sit, I would totally love that. If somebody contacted me with that, I would probably take them in like a heartbeat, assuming that their purses aren't like horrible. Now, I don't know if every guild feels this way, but like bench players are so important for a raid and nobody wants to do it. Everybody wants to be in on every single boss. So if you found somebody who is like, hey, I'm just interested in like what this is like, I want to dip my toe in for this first tier and just get like a low stress environment where the best part is that even if you are brought in as a bench player, at least for us, I don't know about most guilds, but at least for us, we're not going to like flame you if you mess up. It's actually expected that you're going to mess up. We know that you are new to this, and it's not like we are just like so appreciative that you're there and we don't have to stop our entire raid all because like one person had to leave mid raid. Just this last week, in fact, or maybe it was the week prior, we had one of our DPS have to step out on Mythic One Arm Bandit. And we would have had to like basically stop. It's just like just sucks. And we ended up bringing in one of our bench players who she just does delves most of the time and she hangs out. She's been raiding with us for like quite a while, but she's kind of taking this season off. It's just like so incredibly valuable. Like I can't thank them enough for just being able to hop in. I don't know how guilds function if they don't have a bench, and the answer is a lot of guilds don't. A lot of guilds fail, and part of the reason is the roster boss. That's actually probably the hardest difficulty in Mythic, is getting 20 players together who want to progress a boss together, don't want to kill each other by the end of the night, and who are actually capable of doing the fight. I guess that's the last one. I think those first two are more difficult, though. It is the culture and building up a guild of people who want to play together. Of places I've recruited people, I've recruited them, like I said, from this Discord. I've recruited them from Reddit. So Reddit, WoW, guild, recruitment. People post on here. I wouldn't say that this is the best place to recruit people. Maybe not there. WoW guilds, is this it? Yeah, like people post here and like there's guilds. And it's a different spot. If you're looking for people to recruit or if you're looking for a place to post, like you really want to find a guild, just go to all three. Like post something, maybe somebody will see it. You never know. I recruited somebody from this, and they ended up being like a really solid player. I think I recruited like 2 or 3. Some of them didn't hit, but like some of them were really cool. So definitely check out the Reddit, and then the WoW forums is probably another place. I don't think that I ended up finding anybody there, but there are people who post there. So throw your hook out, see who messages you back. And that second one, yeah, don't be afraid to bench. I think that is a super valuable role and a super easy way to get your like foot in the door for Mythic if you are just looking to even probably climb the ladder pretty fast. You might be able to find like an entry level Mythic guild if you just like post, but you might be able to find like a pretty established Mythic guild if you're just saying like, hey, I just want to like be here and I just want to be helpful, you know. Also worth mentioning too, if you're like a really strong player and you're looking to rate at that higher level, Shindig recently made a video and he was talking about how he applied to like 50 of the top 100 guilds or something on North America, and he was just trying to like throw his hook out. Like I said, he was just trying to see who would invite him, and he ended up getting into one of the guilds. I don't think this is going to work for everybody, and also I don't think everybody wants this level of Mythic rating. He was looking for like a Hall of Fame guild. He's like a really exceptional player who's like trying to push his skill. For people who are just looking for like a little bit of loot, or they're looking to like kind of like progress just like with a group of friends and like feel things out, this might not be for you. But if you're somebody who's like really sweaty and you want to try this, definitely like feel free to submit your applications if you got some sort of experience, or you think that there's something that sets you apart. You never know. Like he got into it, so I don't know why you couldn't. Finally, if you don't want to find a guild, you can definitely pug it. I do think that like pugging earlier on in the season, you could probably pug the first boss like earlier than you actually imagine. You could just do that in group finders. So I was logged into the PTR a second ago, but I'll go log back in. You just go into the group finder. People will make posts for it. There's not always like really solid Mythic groups, but especially for those first few bosses, there's oftentimes like guilds that just they need somebody. Like I said, the roster boss is like one of the hardest parts of like running these early guilds, these less established guilds. So you just go into game, go into pre-mades, find a group, and like people will have like posts here. This is the PTR, so like there's nothing here, but like yeah, people will post like, hey, I'm doing like Mythic rating, like we need 1 DPS. Definitely feel free to shoot your shot as long as your character is like geared and like you put in your note or something that it's like, hey, I'm just like looking to try out this boss. I have a functioning brain. I can join Discord. Honestly, if I saw a note like that, I'd be like, hell yeah, this guy, like get him in here. You know, I know a lot of people like on the surface they would be like, hey, like, well, he's saying that he has a functioning brain doesn't actually like show that he's like a decent player. But like the reality is that like most people don't even use a note. So like the fact that this guy seems like he's like a real person and he's like, hey, like I'd like to play with you guys. It's just like, dude, I would take you on a heartbeat. All right, now we got to talk about preparation. So you found your guild, you found your pug or whatever. Like, how are you going to prepare for it? So if you're pugging, you're going to want to prepare before, obviously, joining the pug. But if you're going to be in a guild, you found your guild and you're going to start preparing. You can do a couple of things. So first of all, like for starters, read your Wowhead guide. Just do it. Like these guys are good. They're made by really good players generally. I don't know about all of them, but like I'm assuming all of these players are pretty strong caliber players. Probably way better than me. So yeah, go read your guide. Go watch YouTube videos. I know that Preheat has a guide for Fire Mage as well as he wrote this guide. So like he's gonna have a lot of the same information. But like both of these are really good. I would not be able to play Fire Mage to the capacity that I play it if it were not for him. I actually am playing Arcane right now, but like when I had to learn Fire, this is how I did it. And it was a hard spec, but I figured it out. And yeah. So those are like the two number one things. Figure out your class, right? Get gear. Gearing is very important, like I mentioned. Having more item level lets you survive more mechanics because you'll have more health. It'll let you do more damage so you can parse better. You're going to be judged on your parses in Mythic. You just will. So even your heroic parses, you want to parse well in heroic because that first guild that you join might not be the later guild that you want to finish off with, right? You may end up having to join that guild and that guild like crumbles or something. It's like, okay, I'm going to keep moving up the ladder. Generally, the way you should do that is like don't leave during the middle of progression on a boss if you can. So like if you've gone into the Mythic, you guys are on the 3rd or 4th boss or something like that. Don't leave in the middle of that progression. Try to finish that boss if you can, and then move on to the next guild. And after that, also be very like openly communicate with the guild. Tell them, right? Like I said early on, when you're joining a guild, just tell them what your intentions are. If you're going to be leaving a guild soon, if you're like, hey, like I'd really like to like move on to another thing, but I will finish out this boss for you. That you can at least give them that courtesy. That way they don't get screwed over and you kind of like burn that whole bridge. It is nice just knowing players right now. For example, I want to do some PTR testing today and I was wondering what guilds are going to do that. My guild doesn't want to do it, so I was like, okay, well, let's see who's interested in it. So I reached out to a couple of guilds that I know. I'm just trying to find a group for it. So it's like good to have those connections. You never really know. Maybe eventually you end up going back to that guild. You don't want to burn a bridge. Just don't make enemies. You know? But yeah, getting geared is important for that. Get your enchants, get your consumables. Like I said earlier, it also just shows interest. It shows that you're enjoying playing the game, which is important to people when they're asking people to invest a lot of time into Mythic, right? So it's future Casey. Something else that I forgot to mention too is at the start of this next season, something that you can do if your guild is maybe not progressing as fast as you want is that you can do both pugging and joining a guild. So the nice thing about heroic lockouts is that you aren't locked to one lockout. In Mythic, it's different. I can't go and pug a Mythic boss, otherwise I'll get locked out. But in Heroic, you can easily just like join a pug, and that's what I did this tier. Is that like my guild, we stopped our progression for the week on like, I don't know, sticks or something. And it's like, okay, cool. I went and found a pug, and I tried to pug sticks with like other guilds or something. And some guilds might frown on this, but the reality is that like, I mean, it's your character, it's your time. Like, I don't know, I feel like you should have the option to just go out and like, you can practice on fights too. That's something else that you can do. If you've already killed a boss, you can go into a pug and you can kill that boss again, and you can just practice your rotation, practice the fight. So that way, when you come in next week, you can do even more damage to the boss, right? So those are like things that you can do to actually get better at your character and stuff. One of the reasons that I actually wanted to swap from Classic is that we went through all this work in like Firelands to get a legendary staff for my character, and then the crazy part was that you get to use that staff like an hour a week. You would go back into the raid, you would clear the raid in like an hour, and it's like, cool, there's not like, you don't run heroics and kata, it's just not something you did. But it's like getting loot in WoW in retail is cool because I can do other things with that loot. I can go into Mythic Plus and I can do higher keys, I can push keys, I can go back into the raid and I can try to do more damage on those bosses and I can kill them. To some people that might not sound like fun, but if you're looking to get better at the game, like doing those sorts of things could be beneficial to you. And if you end up joining a guild that's not progressing as fast as you want, like I don't see a reason why you shouldn't be able to just like hop into a pug and try to pug a little bit further into the raid just so you can see it. So that way when your guild gets to that boss, you can perform even better. Now, like I said, some guilds might not like that, but at least for our guild, we definitely don't care. And we think I would encourage it. Honestly, if somebody wanted to do that, come pug with me, dude. We do it together. Another thing that you should learn how to do is read your logs. Now, this isn't working for me right now for some reason. The timeline isn't, but like you can come in here and you can click on a player and then you can be like, okay, what is this guy casting? So just click on Ska and it's like, okay, you go to events and it's like, okay, here's a bunch of casts. Now, normally I would do timeline, I think, but right here it's not working. So I'll just go here. And then like what you could do is like, okay, say for example, I'm playing Warlock. I just go, okay, raid, and I'm just going to go look on the same fight. We'll go to rankings. We'll just go to top parsers. Go to Warlock. He's playing Destra. Look on the top guy, and like, what is this guy doing? Things I might look at too is like, what build is he running? So if I come in here and I click on this guy, I click summary, you can just copy his build. So maybe his build is slightly different than yours, and it's like, okay, I want to try out this build instead. Sometimes the builds that you get from Wowhead aren't going to be 100% correct for what other people are running, right? They write this guide and then it might not be updated for a little bit, and especially like as people are kind of doing these bosses more, you can hop in here and just be like, yeah, I'm going to copy this guy's build, and that way I'll have like all the right stuff, right? You can go to his damage breakdown, like I said, and then you can go to his events or like casts or whatever. His loading, it was like his are loading for some reason. Like you could click on this and you can see like, oh, okay, what's all this bullshit? I don't play Warlock, so I don't know, but like maybe if I did play Warlock, I could like kind of parse through this. Like this is his pet damage, so I think that's kind of like clogging some of it up, but there's also tools that help with this that people are going to make fun of this, especially like if you're higher in Mythic, they might like be like, oh, these aren't very accurate, or like, don't use those things. I have WoW Analyzer here too, and I'm pretty sure that this one's a little bit more garbage, but like it still has some useful insights, and sometimes you can see things that are like, oh yeah, maybe I didn't think about that yet. Whitefest is nice because I can just go in here, and if I don't know how to read logs, it'll just kind of like tell me things. So like right here, it says these cluster bombs were soaked 66 times, which means that they were not always soaked. But it's like, okay, cool, look at me. I was soaking a lot on this fight. And you can just like see stuff like this. It's like you just go through and like, I don't know, maybe this isn't all geared directly towards you. But it's like sometimes like information's cool, dude. And you just go through and you just like see things. And like, oh yeah, maybe this group wasn't doing this. Maybe you can give some feedback or something helpful. Yeah. These tools exist for a reason, basically. They're made to make it easier for you to get into Mythic raiding. Logs can be confusing. I totally get it. You go into logs and it's like, oh my god, what is all of this stuff? Like all these buttons and stuff. There's even more advanced things that you can do too. You can put in like these expressions. Like this is stuff that I use for like sticks to like figure out who is hitting bombshells and stuff. It's not always clear, right? You don't need to be an expert at logs, but try to learn how to do the easy things, basically. Other things that you can do to prepare for raid. So I'm gonna sign into game here real fast. I'm also going to showcase assignments. So basically a lot of guilds will use these things. So we use this app right here, and basically what it lets us do is, as you can tell, it'll map out the fight and the mechanics that will take place, and then we can go through and we can assign like healer cooldowns and stuff like that. You can assign anything, honestly, like Hellstones even, like tell people to take a lock gate. You can put notes that'll just like text-to-speech things on their screen. So these things are like really important. This is when it gets to the territory that people will say like, oh man, you have the weak aura play the game for you. But the reality is that like I forget shit all the time, dude. I forget to use my defensives. I forget to use maybe like something that WoW Analyzer might point out is like, okay, if you come in here, like it might not have like 100% like useful information, but it might be like, hey, you didn't use your Breath of Eons enough. Like you could have gotten 3 uses in and you only got 2. If it's something like that, then I could just go in here and I'm like, oh shit, I forget to use it on cooldown. Okay, I could just schedule it on cooldown. So I would just come in here and I'd be like, okay, I don't know. I don't have it mapped out for AUG right now, but like, okay, I'm going to go schedule all of my deep breaths so I never forget to use a deep breath or something. Like that's something that you could do, right? I do it a lot for defenses. Defenses are important at certain moments in the fight. Sometimes there'll be like a big damage moment and I forget to use my Renewing Blaze, something like that. You know, so you just throw your Renewing Blaze in there, you'll always remember. So that's kind of like a way that you could kind of map these out, and I'll show you how you would kind of import that into game. So basically, you could do this as an individual. A lot of guilds will do this. They're not going to assign your defensives most of the time. Some guilds might, but like depends on the moment of the fight. We'll put like personals and stuff right here so people remember. But like if your guild's not doing this, what you can do is just go into this this app and go to cooldown rate assignments. You can come in here. Say for example, we're doing assignments for Vexy or something. I'm just going to click on this. You can add yourself in. So boom, I would just find my class or whatever. What evoker, big ol' evoker. Your name needs to be right. You add yourself in. So now here I am, and I'd be like, okay, cool. I'm going to schedule my Obsidian Scales just like throughout the fight. I'll use it on cooldown, right? If I went in and I added those all in, whatever. It'll tell you if you can't do it at the time too. You have 2 charges, so I would be able to, but you hit save changes, copy MRT, and then you come in here, and you just add it into your note. So okay, go to note, you go to personal note, you can add that in. And now, yeah, once this is enabled, it'll pop up. I think I have to have my settings for my note to be up there or whatever. I don't use personal notes normally, so it's hard for me to know, but I just got to schedule them into the main note. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's basically what I'll do. Yeah, and once you add that in, you'll have a weak aura. This is the one that we use. There might be other versions. Called Kaze's MRT Reminders. So I don't know how to run a test for this, but basically what this will do is it'll have a little thing pop up right here, and you'll see it during the fight, and then it'll tell you what to do. So that's pretty cool. You can set up reminders for yourself. I recommend doing this, even if your guild doesn't do this. Your guild should do this to coordinate with healers, as we showed earlier. But even if your guild doesn't do this, this will make you a better player. It just will. It'll tell you when to do things. You won't forget. So yeah, huge advice right there on that thing. You should definitely learn how to use this and get comfortable with it. You can also use this thing called timeline reminders. This is from Liquid. If you have their like Patreon or whatever, I think you might need to actually use this. But basically what you can do here is the same thing. It just gives you a timeline of the fight and you can schedule stuff. So this one's a little bit easier, I think, because it's like in game, so you don't have to do all the weak aura stuff. But both of those there are options and they will just make you better. You don't want to overdo it. So like you could think like, oh dude, I'll just have it play the game for me. I'll tell it to do everything, right? I'll like throw this one in here, like this right now, and then I'll throw my Dragon Rage and my Fire Breath. Like it'll get overwhelming. You'll get overstimulated. So don't do that. But do like some key things, some key defensives. If you forget to use your Zephyr or like you don't use it on cooldown, do that. The other thing that you should do in game is get comfortable going into things like BigWigs and changing things. So for example, on raid bosses, there was a fight earlier on. We did Stick Spunk Drunker or Stick Set. And what I noticed is that when I got targeted by this freaking beam, the prototype power coil, I couldn't hear it, dude. I couldn't freaking hear it. I think it had a sound effect. It wasn't loud enough for me. So what I did is I went in here, I emphasized me only sound, and then I added the boxing arena gong. You know what this sounds like? Did it play it? Yeah, it's that one, dude. I'm never going to miss that again. It'll play every single time. And the reason that this was important is because you wanted to defensive it. If you got targeted by this, you need to use a defensive, otherwise you're probably going to die. So it's just like, yeah, things like that. Very important. Yeah, you can go in, you can like set those up. You can do this for any fight in the game. Sound effects are like really cool, and like sometimes the sound effects like don't work very well. So for example, I think another one that I had was the drills on Lock and Stock right here, right? So I noticed that I wasn't. This is one of the mechanics that you need to know before it happens. Like you can't know when it happens, otherwise you're already kind of reacting too late. So I set up a countdown. So now I would go like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I would know, right? Learning to use these tools and like personalize them to yourself will just make you a better player. These are the things that like are really important for mythic rating. And while you don't need to do these things in heroic because maybe mechanics don't matter as much, right? That power coil didn't exist on heroic, but like I don't know, if you're targeted by a mechanic, maybe you don't need to use a defensive. Maybe somebody else can like kind of bail you out. Maybe the healers will just heal you through it, right? But on mythic, if like a mechanic goes off and you don't defensive, oftentimes it just means that you die, and like that's not fun. So these are like definitely things that you should learn how to do. And honestly, like that's kind of like most of the things that I think are worth talking about right now if you're getting into mythic rating. I don't want to make it sound too overwhelming. There's a lot of things that you can do, but the reality is that it's a lot of preparation. And I think that like when people are interested in getting into Mythic rating, they have this fear that like before they step in or when they pull that first boss, like the whole raid is just gonna explode instantly. Like they think that that's like the level of difficulty. They do it with Mythic Plus too, right? People are like afraid to step into keys. They're like, I'm afraid to tank this first key. I'm afraid to heal this key. I'm afraid of DPS. The reality is that like the world doesn't stop spinning when you pull that boss, right? You're gonna pull the boss. It doesn't matter what your gear level is, unless it's like a crazy boss. You're not gonna die instantly. The tank's probably not gonna get one shot. You might get like 20-30 seconds into the fight. Some of our earlier pulls on like bosses that we would put 150 pulls into, we would get the boss to like 60%. And it's like, oh, this fight seems way easier than we first expected, right? And then it ends up taking us 150 pulls to get there. But the reality is that like, dude, you're gonna pull these bosses, and you're gonna be like, wait a minute, we could do this. like I said, it might be deceptive. You might find out that it's a lot more difficult than you realize. But like, I think that'll motivate a lot of people. You know, like the idea that like the world doesn't stop spinning. It will be okay when you pull this boss. I think is really cool. But because you only raid like, I don't know, we raid 6 hours a week, right? Most of Mythic raiding feels like it's like the anticipation to the next raid, right? You get into the raid, you do the fights and stuff, and then after the raid, what do? You look at logs, you like talk to people, you like watch videos on like, okay, well, this is what these people are doing. Maybe we should give this a shot. You grab more gear, you go do some more Mythic Plus, you know, you read up on your class, you're like, okay, what am I doing wrong with my rotation? You talk to people from like other guilds. So here's a Discord that I'm in. It's called the Raid Leader Exchange. I think a lot of people are in this one. It's probably pretty common. But like, I will like go in here and like there's discussions about different boss fights. So we're on Mugsy right now, and it's like, what are these people doing wrong on Mugsy? What mistakes can I learn from? You know, you might go into like raid plans. And you might build like a raid plan. So it's like, oh, this is what we did, but this is what we're gonna do instead. You know. And like, of course, some of these things are on like a officer level, and some of these things are like on an individual level. But like, I have like some of our raiders will just send me like a video, and they'll be like, "Hey, this is like a cool strat that I saw. Maybe we should try this." For example, let me see if I can find the one that we did for Sprocketmonger. Okay, I don't have the original video that they sent me or like a guild that we learned this from, but basically during Sprocketmonger, there's this like strat where basically you'll stand here and then you'll swap to the other side of the conveyor belt, and you have this like super sketchy little moment in the fight where you're getting like pulled in. There's a bunch of fucking rockets, there's like beams and stuff, and like you can't die. And it's like a super sketchy part where we would just always lose people. And they sent us this new strat where instead of doing that, what we would do is we would just go near the doorway and we just all run into the walls. This is something that one of our raiders just sent me, and it was like, okay, this I think this is the first pull that we like did it successfully, and we instantly killed the boss. And it's like being able to contribute to a group like that and like, hey, be like, hey, I got this cool strat. Like I was cooking this up over the weekend. Can we try this? Right? And they send you this cool thing. And it's like instantly you kill the boss. Like that's gotta be like such a cool feeling. I think it's cool for me to like hear like people like showing interest in that sort of thing, like sending me this kind of stuff. As you can tell, it just gets me excited. Like Mythic rating gets me so hyped. I'm really excited that we started doing this year. I'm excited for next year. I hope that you get into it. And that's basically like all I gotta say, dude. Like doing the boss fights and progressing them and like doing 150 pulls on a boss and trying to figure it out. That's like one thing. But like the reality is that like most of Mythic rating is like the hype building up to it. You are outside of the raid talking about it. Like, what are you gonna do? How am I gonna improve? Practicing your character, really like honing your craft. And then you get to step in, you get that time where you get to perform. It's super exciting. I don't think there's quite anything like Mythic rating in any game. I've played so many different games over the years. I have never experienced anything like this that I have loved this much. So definitely give it a look. If you guys enjoy this type of content, feel free to subscribe. I feel like I wanted to make this video because I don't think there are enough resources out there for people who are interested in getting into this. I think there's a lot of people who talk about it from like the highest level, the people who are like really competing in these Hall of Fame guilds. But I don't think that there's a lot of people talking about it from like the level that you're literally like scrounging for players. You're just trying to figure out how to keep a guild going. You're trying to step into Mythic for that first time. And because I did that this tier, I feel like I do have a little bit of a unique perspective. So I kind of wanted to provide that. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this, and I'll see you in the next one.